This is a free sample of the book Don't Be Simp-Pathetic by Cairo Copeland. The first half of this book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/simp. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/simp.
Chapter 3. One powerful skill that all males must learn. The theory of sexual intelligence. Sexual intelligence is your ability to harness and govern your urges to prevent yourself from doing really stupid shit because of them. A lack of sexual intelligence will have you addicted to porn, wasting money on strippers and prostitutes, creeping women out and buying a sex doll. Worse, it will cause your death by the dreaded condition of one-itis. And yes, I really do mean death, because one-itis has driven many men to kill themselves. One-itis is the unhealthy attachment to a particular person. For guys, it is often a woman they have a crush on. They yearn for her attention, approval, and receptivity to their advances. Their entire world is threatened if she does not fall in line. One-itis is most pronounced by thought patterns, such as, I can't live without her, she's my soulmate, I'll do anything to make her love me. The lack of sexual intelligence can lead a guy down two possible pathways. The first is that they develop a one-itis for a particular woman, but much to their initial desire, that woman grants them their wishes and starts a relationship with them that may even lead to marriage. Because he's obsessed over this woman and spent so much time fantasizing about what this relationship could be, he clings to it, even when it's clearly not a beneficial relationship for him. For example, she berates him often, dresses him down in front of others, costs him all his money, and never has sex with him. But this man is trapped in his unhappy relationship with her, either because he's married and breaking up is far too expensive, or because he's been emotionally blackmailed by her. Maybe his lack of sexual intelligence caused him to get her pregnant, and the resulting child has him chained to her permanently. Sometimes he stays in the relationship only because he cannot handle being single again. He believes that a new one will be too hard to attain, let alone a better one. As a result, he remains miserable for the rest of his life, maybe even ends it early. The second path that a lack of sexual intelligence can take a guy down is one where he is so enslaved by his sexual urges that they bring upon him consequences as terrible and irreversible as the first path. This is when a guy becomes so addicted to pornography he can no longer get aroused just from straight sex scenes. He now needs more twisted and bizarre scenes to get going. In some cases, these guys have seen so much that only child porn will give them the high they once had from regular porn. This path could also take a guy down the lonely road of lifelong singlehood because he creeps out every woman he interacts with. The women around him sense something very off-putting about him, like a very bad vibe. His lack of self-control leaks out through his posture, mannerisms, speech, and behaviors, which makes him seem like a creep. Whenever a woman finally does give him attention, he hardly knows how to handle it because it's such a rare occurrence, and he blows it right away, without intention or effort, a walking failure waiting to happen. You may have seen these guys that have walked this path. The creepy old guy that can only stare at beauty from a distance. He's probably the guy that many years ago would have asked for the dirty magazines behind the counter that you had to ask for. He's the guy that wears sweatpants and a tank top when he goes out in public to get his living supplies during the rare break he takes from his regular porn binges. He's both an incel and a simp, perhaps the worst combination of all. He may pay for escorts to attain some form of female intimacy. Quite often, though, the laws of his state don't allow it, so he goes to online escorts in the form of webcam girls and OnlyFans thoughts. With those exploiters, he will burn through hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars for a digital imitation of female intimacy. But the path of developing sexual intelligence is paved with benefits that are vast and residual. The man that possesses it does not get locked down in a relationship with the wrong woman. Instead, he patiently moves through life, dating many women, sometimes even at once, to see all his options and assure himself that he will end up with the best one. He makes it to the peak of his sexual market value, which is about age 36, and remains single and unchained. During these peak years, the women chase him, and he gets to have his choice among them. They chase, he chooses. And better yet, he doesn't have to choose just one, because women would rather share a quality man like this than have their own dedicated simp. Societal stupidity around sex. Sexual intelligence almost sounds like an oxymoron in today's world. Not so much in the sense that people get stupid when they're sexual, but society itself acts incredibly stupid when it comes to the subject. We all like it. We all want to have it. But we are supposed to pretend we do not? And God forbid you talk about it. The world has become thoroughly accepting of more novelty types of sexuality, no matter how unnatural they are, while at the same time, it has purged itself of all understanding and acceptance of male sexuality, despite how natural it is. We are pushed to even be ashamed of it. Do so much as flirt with a woman through social media DMs, all she has to do is screenshot it and publicly post it. Soon after, your DMs will get blown up by strangers telling you what a horrible person you are. If your wife or girlfriend, whom you've been faithful to and thoroughly provide for, ever turns down one of your sexual advances, you need to just accept it. If not, you're immature and need to evolve as a human in the eyes of social imperatives. Your sexuality as a male makes you less than human. Finally, you're made to feel as though it's sinful to express your desire of a woman's body to said woman. Even if she led you to believe that it was all right to do so, you're still viewed as some kind of predator. She could have gotten completely nude and started fingering herself right in front of you, but if you so much as say, hey, you're pretty, I'd like to get with you, the Sisterhood, Indignation, Inquisition, and the White Knight Army appear out of thin air to make your life a living hell. I do not agree with the world for doing any of these things, but it is the world we have, and it will not change. The only thing we can change is ourselves. It is easier to live a peaceful and enjoyable life by adapting to a world of idiocy than it is to stand up to it with intellect. Just ask Galileo. You will do best to harness your sexual energy and drive than to let it go unchecked and be at the mercy of a world so unforgiving to males. To better harness the powerful forces behind your sex drive, it's beneficial to get a thorough understanding of where these sexual energies and urges come from, as well as why they arise. As a biological function, it serves three potential purposes. 1. Continuation of the human race. 2. Stress relief and therapy in leisure form. 3. Transforming a mediocre male into an exceptional one. Wait, what's that last one? There is another reason why women are so deeply attracted to men with sexual intelligence, and another reason you so desperately need to have it. With this skill set, you will be able to switch the thoughts of sex brought on by your urges from a yearning for the physical act into thoughts of a different nature. And this permutation of thought is the closest thing to a superpower in the real world. It is what separates the average male from the exceptional one that starts a successful business, retires at age 35, and moves to Thailand with 5 different girls. Permutation of lust. The desire for sex, better known as lust, is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by it, inspiration can spark in the mind of the man to develop a greater imagination, bravery, perseverance, creativity, and willpower. While lust is the inspirational seed of our greatest strength, it is simultaneously the source of our greatest weakness. When lust is harnessed and redirected to another ambition, this motivator maintains all its power like the surge of adrenaline it is capable of being. The energy it produces can be directed to creative efforts in arts and entrepreneurship or any other work, and taking on difficult endeavors for the accumulation of wealth. This energy is the only fuel necessary. To transform sexual energy for the greater good of yourself, it requires a great deal of willpower and far more than you have ever expended on anything else. You might exercise tremendous willpower sticking to a diet, but during that diet you are still satisfying the bodily need of nutrition. However, in transforming sex energy, you are not satisfying a bodily urge in the manner it wants. Lust is natural, and the desire cannot be 100% eliminated. It needs an outlet in some way, shape, or form. Lust isn't just the desire to have sex, More specifically, it's the desire to make sexual desires known and expressed. These sexual desires, when expressed badly, make you come across to women as perverted or creepy. Repressing sexual expression entirely will make you a simp for women. Both need to be avoided. So the correct course of action to find another outlet for this energy that craves sexual expression is what you need to do. This outlet should be a form of expression that enriches your body and mind. If the energy is not given this outlet, it still has to go somewhere, and it will by default choose one that's purely physical, like jerking off to porn, pissing away money at a strip club, or just plain creeping women out. If you've ever put a sealed container in the microwave, you've seen what happens once it heats up. The air in the container gets hotter, causing the molecules within it to expand. When that air gets bigger, but has no place to go, it will burst through whatever it's contained in, so the container explodes. The same can be said of your sexual energy and lust. When it has nowhere to go, it will explode from within you. It may be contained for a time, but by its very nature, it is constantly seeking a place to go, an opportunity to express itself. If not given a creative alternative for that expression, it will find a less worthy outlet. Notice many of the guys that were called out and publicly scourged by #MeToo were super rich guys working poshy jobs. Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, Bill O'Reilly, etc. These guys also worked very restricted jobs because they were constantly in the public eye. With so many restrictions on them, their creative ideas and energies were forcefully bottled up. The same can be said of politicians caught in sex scandals. These are the examples of males that found less worthy outlets for their desires to express themselves, sexually and non-sexually. Conversely, the men that have found other outlets for their sexual energies and lust have become some of the greatest achievers in history. When you look at the most successful males in the world of business, art, science, industry, and all professions, they all had one thing in common with you: an unrelenting desire for sexual expression and perpetual horniness. And that is an encouraging thought, because what one man can do, so too can another. It is par for the course when it comes to being male. We're born with 18 times the amount of sex hormones that women have. They have no clue what it's like to have a sex drive so strong. I once worked with a female bodybuilder who was taking testosterone supplements and almost got herself up to male levels. And she told me, "I don't know how you guys handle being so horny all the time." Sex is an emotion. All human behavior is driven by emotions, and sex is the most powerful one of them all. We know this because it is what has allowed the perpetuation of the human race. In caveman times, the males had to go out into the wild to hunt for food and slaughter the saber-tooths for the provision of his mate and offspring. If this was something he had to do before mating, that's quite a jeopardy he put his life in just for the 15 minutes or so of pleasure before the orgasm. If this was something done after mating, then that's quite a post-activity price tag to pay for the same 15 minutes. Either way, sex is one strong emotion to make it happen. The emotion of sex is such an unstoppable force that men will set logic and reason aside to satisfy its calling. While the desire's origins in the mind are biological, its calling is chemical. I can make you feel a certain emotion just by shooting you up with the right chemicals, because the brain is a mix of chemicals. Serotonin, dopamine, glutamate, and norepinephrine are all chemicals in the brain that influence our mood. But as you probably know, because it is highly advocated by Reinvent Ideal in all my books and my podcast, there is a highly beneficial discipline for life known as emotional intelligence. To define exactly what it is, one could say it's the ability to regulate and refine emotions by calling their intensity into question, understanding their origins and effects, and harnessing their power to something more constructive. Since sex is an emotion, we can do the same thing with it through sexual intelligence. If the sex organs on a man were removed, you would have also removed much of what motivates him in life. We see this often with animals that are neutered. A bull becomes as calm as a cow after it has been castrated. The bulls must be castrated if they're going to be grouped with other bulls, because otherwise they'd kill each other. It takes all the fight out of them. It's even seen in human males, as some states do castrate pedophiles upon conviction. The same effect is even observed to take place in females, as some countries with barbaric cultures still practice female genital mutilation. I bring this up not to make you cringe, but to show you how strong of an emotion sex is, and that you as a human need to fulfill this biological imperative, but in a refined way. If we were to look at everything that serves as a stimulant, catalyst for action, or inspiration for creativity in the mind, we could list off at least 10 candidates. Lust, love, greed, recognition, hunger, music, after all, muse is in the word, platonic relationships, empathy to suffering, reflexive thoughts, fear, drugs and alcohol. These 10 things can spark pizzazz, creativity, enthusiasm, or intense perseverance through difficulty. People are motivated by at least one of them at all times. They light a fire under your ass to get the wheels in your head turning. Most of these are part of your nature as a human and can be used constructively. The last one is alien to the body and destructive. Sex, however, can be both. I present this list to show you that sex is the most powerful of all these forces. Therefore, the permutation of it toward more constructive ambitions will be far more beneficial than the others. How do you know sex is more powerful than all the others on the list? Just keep digging deeper into why behind each of the others. Why do you want someone to love you? To get sex. Why are you greedy for money? To get sex. Why are you hungry for recognition and fame? To get sex. Why do men learn how to play music? To get sex. This list can go on and on. In his world-famous book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill had studied 25,000 people in search of what separated the successful among them from the rest. During this study, he made an incredible discovery: the power to create and destroy. In Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, a group of deep space scientists created the Genesis device, which was a dualistic type of warhead. If it were dropped someplace where no life existed, say a moon or an asteroid, it would transform it into a living, breathing planet. But if it were dropped someplace where life already existed, it would destroy such life. The sexual emotions have the exact same duality of power over men. They may inspire a man to become his best self, but it can also provoke him to ruin his life. In Napoleon Hill's study, he discovered that most guys did not reach success in their careers, lives, or entrepreneurial endeavors before age 40. Guys like Mark Zuckerberg are the exception, not the rule, which is why they stand out so easily. As far as the reason why, Hill hypothesized that it was because many males before age 40 would disperse their energies in the pursuit of sexual expression, meaning they jerk off to porn and chase ass all the time. These males never learned that the urge for sex has other possibilities and can produce things more meaningful than just the physical expression of sexuality, and that's what's tragic. And what's tragic is that they piss away this energy when it's at its height in the years prior to age 40. These are the males that become addicted to pornography. These are the guys that look at the life of a reinvented man, specifically his woman life, and think to themselves, I could never have that. They see the beautiful girlfriend he has, wish that he could have that too, but deep down they feel they cannot. They see him with 2 beautiful girlfriends and do the same. The fact that their sexual energies are wasted by jerking off to porn is what creates this defeatist mindset within them, because they become so used to having their most intimate sexual interactions with a screen, it seems far too unattainable to live a life that resembles a pornographic fantasy. Believe yourself to be unworthy of the life you want, and that's precisely what you'll be. When these guys believe that they could never have better, they are in fact correct, because their addiction to expressing their sexual energy through porn binge watching is not just wasting their sexual energy, but also everything in them that is masculine. Their misdirected expression of sexual urges actually feminizes them and makes them an immense turnoff to women. However, that does not stop them from chasing women and simping for them. Meanwhile, the other man, the reinvented man, doesn't even have to chase. He redirected his sexual urges and energies to chase excellence instead of women. He found and attained it, resulting in the women chasing him as of today. So as you see, sex is an emotion, and the emotion that will require the most regulation on your part to master, the most emotional intelligence to develop and devote to its maturity. If not for the fact that doing so will save you from wasting thousands of dollars on porn, prostitutes, OnlyFans subscriptions, and sex toys, or the way it will help you save face from embarrassing yourself by creeping a woman out, being asked to leave somewhere for creeping a woman out, or being publicly shamed for doing it, there's also a positive side to this coin. It's not about just preventing negative things, but also about creating positive futures. The permutation of sexual energy can inspire man to reach his full financial, genetic, intellectual, and interpersonal potential. The regulation and redirection of the sexual urge offers more rewards than negativities that it wards away. That is because, in addition to being an emotion, it is also a muse or a stimulant for the mind. It is an influential element that can increase the vibrations of thought as well as the depth of thought. As a former salesman, I can tell you that the most successful men in the field were the men that got laid the most. You've heard the jokes about the Kevin from sales that women at the office can't resist. He says things that if Steve from accounting said, he'd be sent to HR. But somehow Kevin gets away with it, because he's good looking and also because he has a personal enthusiasm that's contagious. That's often what is meant when they say some guys just have it, just get it when it comes to women. He just has it. The biology behind the success is that Kevin from sales is bursting with sexual energy, but there are many outlets for him to funnel that energy to. He gets laid enough to pass it along to the women he's banging, and he has a job challenging enough to channel that enthusiasm and energy toward. This can be done with almost any profession, not just sales. Lacking energy, sexual or not, will render any male unable to influence others. But what else does Kevin from sales have that Steve from accounting does not? Besides getting laid a lot, Kevin also seems to really love his job. After all, he's making a killing at it. If something you did gave back to you like that, you'd come to love it too. And that's the winning combination. Sexual energy combined with love. Notice how sex with a woman feels so much more fulfilling when there's also love mixed in with it. When you sleep with a woman you genuinely feel connected to, you find yourself enjoying the process of pleasing her because she expresses it through her moans and orgasms that she approves of you as well. This is far more satisfying than any one-night stand or hours-long jerk session with porn. Those things are only satisfying the urge of lust, which is no different than doing a job just for a paycheck. To be in a job you hate just to make money would be just as unfulfilling as sex with a woman you find unattractive just because you need a climax, or like being in a marriage with a woman you don't love. Even if she's still having sex with you, it's the unenjoyable starfish sex with no passion or pleasure beyond mere sensations. Sex without love easily becomes destructive. Lust was a deadly sin for a reason. Love itself, though, is like fire. It's both beneficial and dangerous. If Shakespeare was trying to tell us something with the play Romeo and Juliet, it was to warn us about the danger that can come about from the emotion of love. It causes people to do really stupid shit. Like the architect told Neo at the end of The Matrix Reloaded, love mirrors sex in the way that it can be the source of your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. As with anything with this duality, the powerful emotions of love and sex need to be managed. That's entirely the purpose of having emotions, to manage them. Humans are born with a need for adversity. Gravity itself is an adversity that every living thing on Earth must face, both good and bad, as it keeps you from floating off into a cold death in space. It can bring about death from a trip off a canyon. But without gravity, even in a controlled environment like many astronauts experience, muscles begin to atrophy and make them weak. Without the adversity of our emotions, our minds would become weak and pathetic. If you thought simping was bad now, see how much worse it would become without regular exercise in regulating emotions. Like chemicals, they can be combined for good or bad. Love and jealousy, or sex and anger, are deadly combinations. They may cause you to do something as stupid as Romeo does in his grief and rage over losing Juliet. Or, on the less extreme end, they may cause you to waste thousands of dollars and hours binging on porn, simping for women on social media, white knighting for train wrecks, and scaring away the very women you wish to win over. Worst of all, the lack of sexual intelligence with one of these deadly emotional combinations can lead you down a ruined and wretched life exemplified by some of the males presented on the show 90 Day Fiancé. This reality show follows Americans with low sexual market value who turn to the third world looking for love. Some of the males on the show are so pathetic they can't even see what's obvious to the rest of us. The women are only using them for a green card. Some of these guys are obese, still living with their mothers, and have financial disarray in their lives, which is very common because when a guy has trouble with women, that's often the sign he has trouble in many aspects of his life. Just as we say money is only the byproduct of talent and hard work, women are the byproduct of a man having his shit together. But Kevin from sales has a beneficial combination in his love life and work life. He combines both his sexual energy with his love for his job to be the successful salesman everyone admires. When he's with women, it isn't a mere wham bam thank you ma'am fuck. He combines his sex energy with love for the woman as well. While it may not be monogamous love, that kind of love isn't the requisite kind for enjoying sex. Love and sex, however, is a winning combination. Marriages and long-term relationships without sex are damned. In those relationships, you will see both participants are clearly unhappy. The same can also be said about relationships where there is sex but no love. Those are the one-night stands you are embarrassed about and hope no one finds out about it. Or the porn you hide because it's so novelty and highly fetishized, it may make people hurl at you if they only knew. Without women, all men's work and innovation dies from a lack of motivation. Why do you go to work? To make money. Why do you want money? To go on dates with women. Why go on dates? To get sex. Without the women existing, much of what motivates a man to become the best man he can be disappears. Sure, we'll all still have some very basic needs like hunger and survival, but beyond that, nothing more than the bare minimum will be done. A world with only male inhabitants is a world in caves. By letting your sexual urges run wild, you frighten women away and create for yourself a world similar to one that has only male inhabitants.